What's up, guys? It's Jacob from the Degenerate Gambling Life, and we have a great episode for you again today. Starting off, we're going to be talking about the top 20 running backs in redraft leagues. And our first tier, we're going to have CMC, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, and Jahmyr Gibbs. With McCaffrey, obviously, we have to keep him at running back one. He's coming off the running back one overall season and a historic season at that. I don't know if he's going to put up quite the same numbers, but even so, you got to take the safe pick with him at running back one. Then with Robinson, I like him at running back two. I think he's due for a big year this year. He's got a new quarterback in Kirk Cousins and a revamped offense that should be getting him more opportunities inside the red zone this season. And because of that, I really like him in fantasy this year. You got to be scooping him up at the end of the first round if you can. With number three, we have Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. He's especially good in PPR formats. He just had 76 catches last year, and the Jets should improve as a team as well this season, getting Aaron Rodgers back and Mike Williams on offense. So teams aren't going to just be able to key in on Breece, and I think he's going to have another amazing year. And then moving on to number four, I have Jonathan Taylor, a guy with running back one overall upside. He looked very good at the end of last season with 7 touchdowns in 10 games. I think he's a guy that could be running back one overall, like I said. And I think if you can snag him up first round, second round, you have to be taking Jonathan Taylor when you can. And then with the number five guy, another guy with running back one upside in Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy was phenomenal in his rookie season with double digit touchdowns. He proved that he can be a workhorse and a goal line guy. I like his role to expand in Detroit this year and for him to continue to be a home run threat and a great player in fantasy football. Then moving on to the number six running back on the list, I have Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is in for the best season of his career. He finally has a good O line and he has weapons around him now. Teams are not going to be able to just stack the box against him. I think that he is going to go nuts this year, so draft him if you can. Then number seven, maybe potentially the best value on the list, Kyron Williams. He could be running back one overall again. I know everyone's freaking out about Blake Corum, but he is still a three down workhorse back. Corum was only drafted in the third round as insurance for an injury to Kyron. He's going to be the guy, and if he stays healthy, he could have another monster season again. Isaiah Pacheco, don't overthink it. Here at number eight, he is a great running back on a great team. He's going to be getting a lot of work. He's a guy that runs like he's angry at the ground every single time he touches the ball. And he is that guy that is going to get you points in the receiving game as well. So don't overthink it. He's definitely a top 10 running back this season. At number nine, I have Derrick Henry. They're going to run him until the wheels fall off. Will the wheels fall off this year? I don't know. Probably not. I think he's going to be very good in this Baltimore offense, and he could score a lot of touchdowns. And then at number 10, ETN, he had a great year last year. Will he be able to keep it up as he's not the most efficient running back? I don't know. I think he's a potential landmine this season, but at 10, he is solid value. Then running backs 11 through 15, this is where the draft gets really interesting. I have James Cook at 11. I think James Cook is being very slept on this season. He's a lot lower in most rankings if you look at redraft rankings right now. Cook came off a very efficient season last year. I think he could get even more work and volume this season. With Stephon Diggs departing, that volume has to go somewhere. Some of it's going to go to the run game, and some of it is going to go to the receiving game, to the running backs. Cook showed that he is very good in the receiving game as well, so I like him a lot to have a big year this season. Devin Achane at 12. Obviously, he could be the best back in the league, but I don't think he can stay healthy for the whole season. I think the Dolphins are going to be keeping him on the football equivalent of a pitch count and make sure his touches don't get too high so he'll be healthy for the playoffs. So that's why I don't have him higher. Kenneth Walker at 13th. A lot of people are down on him. I'm higher on him the most. I think he should have another very good season. He proved to be one of the most elite runners in the game last year. People are worried about Charbonnet taking volume from him, but I don't really think it's going to be significant enough where I wouldn't be comfortable drafting him in the top 15 at the running back position. At 14, I have Rashad White, obviously not the most efficient guy. They brought in some competition for him, or else I would have him higher. In PPR formats, this guy's a monster, though, so you can't write him off. Very good player in the receiving game, so he's going to have a lot of work regardless of how things shake up in that backfield. And I think he'll still be the workhorse guy this season. And then at 15, we have Josh Jacobs. He's coming off a historically bad season with a 3.5 yards per carry on still over 200 carries. He's had a lot of touches the last few seasons, and I think he's a potential landmine this year. Obviously, there's a lot of talent there, so he could be good, but it's a big roll of the dice. Are you going to get the boom or are you going to get the bust? and we just don't know. So that's why I have him at 15. Then moving on to 16, I have Zamir White. This is another guy I really like a lot this season. I think he's due for a monster year. He's going to be a three-down workhorse back in Las Vegas, and they've shown that they want to run the ball as well. So definitely look to get value on Zamir White. He's going to be going a lot later than 16th at the running back position in a lot of drafts. So scoop up that value while you can. Then moving on to running back 17, I have Alvin Kamara. I think he is still got a little bit left in the tank. I think he still is due for another good season, especially if it's in a PPR format. I would have him much higher in redraft formats only, obviously, but I think he can still be very productive in fantasy football this year. At 18, Aaron Jones. He was still very efficient when he played last season. The question mark is just, will he be healthy? If he is, I think he has a lot of upside to be a league winner. In Minnesota, they're going to need to get the ball to their running backs. They have a rookie quarterback who's going to want his check down to his safety blankets as well. So I like Aaron Jones a lot in PPR formats. At 19, I have Joe Mixon. I'm lower on him than most. I don't think he's a very efficient running back. And we saw last year Houston didn't have the best time running the ball. So will he be effective enough in the passing game to make up for the lack thereof in the rushing department? I don't know. I think he still could be pretty good and if he gets the volume, he will be good enough to take. So 19 is a solid spot for him to land. And then at 20, I have David Montgomery. Obviously, the volume will probably decline a little bit this season, but he showed to be a very good back. And if anything happened to Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to be the top handcuff to have in fantasy football. So don't be afraid to take David Montgomery in the running back 20 spot.
This week's fantasy football debate is who's going RB2. Do you think it's Bijan Robinson, or are you like me and think it's Breece Hall? The man put up RB6 numbers at 17.1 points per game last year, despite coming off of an ACL injury. He is a workhorse, which is what you need. Rushing downs, passing downs, he's in there, ready to get fantasy points on any and every play. Aaron Rodgers is going to be back a full season. Expect them to be in the red zone more, which means more touchdown opportunities.
All right, Jordan, you got me. Breece Hall is a stud, and I do think he should be the third running back off the board this year. But the second running back off the board this year should be Bijan Robinson. Let's just face a couple of facts here. Number one, Bijan Robinson is the biggest running back prospect since Saquon Barkley, almost in the last 10 years, and he proved it his rookie season by averaging over 4.5 yards a carry, 8 total touchdowns, and just dominating all year long. He had a couple of dud games, but every single player in the NFL had a couple of dud games last year. Secondly, Arthur Smith is gone. This is the biggest keynote because Arthur Smith loves to ruin stud running backs. So Bijan can realize his full potential. I do think he finishes as a top 5 running back. He's the safest running back pick on the entire board, which is why he's going in the middle of the first round. And finally, if you really needed something else, I do love Tyler Algier. I think he was a great talent and a great story. What he did his rookie year was amazing, but last season we saw him regress. And now he had over 200 touches last year. I think 50 or so of those go to Bijan Robinson and get Bijan Robinson up into that elite top 5 running back tier, if not number 1 running back overall. So Breece is a nice pick, but Bijan's the better first round pick. Don't make that mistake.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
Okay, how is it going, everyone? My first hot take. The Dallas Mavericks never really had a chance against Boston without a third legit scorer. It's being shown in this matchup with them. The Mavericks are a great team that have some great depth, but they need a third scorer. I don't exactly know who it is that'll match up on that timeline. It doesn't have to be a superstar, but someone that will consistently get them that, let's call it 15 to 18 points a game. That's what they truly just need. Next, just got back from Vegas. I can tell you, poker is booming. All right. The rooms are full of cash game. We had a meetup game, Mandalay Bay. We had 7 tables. All right. The World Series of Poker daily tournaments are clashing up top, 20 to 30,000. Golden Nugget is having crazy tournaments. I think there's actually 2 other smaller tournaments, and they are getting full every single day, along with the World Series of Poker. So we are in a second poker boom.
I appreciate it, Josh. My hot take is coming via the United States Women's Olympic basketball roster reveal. There's been a lot of chirping of Caitlin Clark didn't make the team, Caitlin Clark this. Yeah, I mean, this team is full of ballers. You think because Caitlin Clark was the number one overall pick and was just playing in the national title game that she deserves to be on the women's USA basketball team? Slow your roll. There's really only one player on the team that she might be a little bit better than, and that's Diana Taurasi. And let's face it, Diana Taurasi is USA basketball through and through. She's 41 years old. Yeah, she's getting up there. She brings the veteran experience. She brings leadership to this team. Diana Taurasi deserves to be there. Caitlin Clark fans, shut your mouths, because even if somebody were to replace Diana Taurasi, it wouldn't be Caitlin Clark, it'd be Ogunbowale. So, shut it. Jacob, what you got?
Thank you, Jordan. And my hot take for the week is that Caitlin Clark should have made the Olympic team. She has a unique skill set and can hit threes from basically anywhere in the gym. And I think this was a big mistake from the U.S. women's national team. Obviously, they'll still probably win gold. I can't imagine anyone else would be favored. They have to be huge favorites to win gold in Paris. But with Clark, she gives you that extra element. If you do happen to fall behind in a game, you don't have your A game one day, and you have someone that you can bring in off the bench to hit threes to get you back in it. I think why take the risk of not having a player like that when you could have had her? At the end of the day, they'll still probably win gold, but I think it was a mistake on their part.
My hot take of the week is that in pretty much all fantasy football formats right now, that the wide receivers are going way too high and the running backs are going way too low. I think that the market has overcorrected on running backs going way too early in the past and receivers going too late, and now it's kind of flip-flopped. Never in the history of fantasy football have we seen this many wide receivers go in the first round, and there isn't some dramatic change that happened in the NFL. Yes, running backs are more RBBC nowadays, and the elite wide receivers do carry more value, but we're completely dismissing a ton of running backs that should be going earlier in drafts. I think this will hold true throughout the off season and into August when we get into redraft season. That's my hot take.
This was a poker hand I played at 1-2 stakes at Shuffle 512 in Austin, Texas. An early position player raised to $10. She was playing about 100% of her hand, so she still can have her entire range here. The middle position player called, and I wake up in the cutoff with 7-6 of diamonds and raised to $45. The small blind cold calls, and the early position and the middle position player call as well. So we're going to a flop with just a suited connector, but we're going to have to do that sometimes. The flop comes 4-5-9 with two hearts and one diamond, so we flop an open ender and a backdoor flush draw. Now the hand goes off the rails because action checks to MP and he leads for $60. Here I contemplate raising all in, which is probably the best play since I'm going to be raising with value hands here like pocket nines, aces, and kings. So I do need to have some bluffs, and I think 7-6, especially with a backdoor, is a perfect candidate to do so. But I miss the bluff here, and I just end up calling. The small blind folds, and the early position player makes the call as well. The turn comes the king of diamonds. It checks to me now, and I go all in for 180. I have a massive combo draw here, and I can rep the king because I'm still going to have a lot of ace king in this spot when I play the hand this way. The early position player makes the call, however, and the MP player folds. So we're going to the river. We need to get lucky, but we brick this time, and she beats us with king 4 offsuit for the turn 2 pair. Poker hand I played from the same session. I was in the straddle in this hand, so we were playing 1-2-5. The middle position raised to 15, and the low jack called, and I call with ace 8 of diamonds. I probably should mostly be 3-betting here, but I think it's good to call sometimes so I can show up with some unexpected hands as well. The flop comes ace 6-7 with two hearts and a diamond. I check, the original raiser checks, and the button bets for 20. I call 20, and now the original raiser does something I didn't expect. He min raises to 40. The button calls, and here, with the price I'm getting, I have to call even though I'm most likely behind. The turn comes the 8 of clubs, so we get super lucky here, but unfortunately action checks through. The river comes the 4 of clubs, which brings in a one-liner to a 5, but I don't think either of my opponents will show up with a 5 here very often, since 5-4 would be bet off on the turn. I go for value here. I bet 65 with an easy fold if I get raised. Both players end up calling, and I turn over my hand, and we are good versus ace 7 and a hand that the button ends up mucking.
Okay, we're jumping into a poker hand. We are playing 1-2 at South Point. It limps to us in the cutoff, and we have ace-9 offsuit. We flat because a lot of players have just been limping with really big hands. So we go 6 ways to a flop. The flop comes the ace of hearts, the jack of diamonds, and the 4 of spades. It checks to me, and now I bet $16, and it folds to middle position, who check raises to 40. Folds to us, and I debate folding here, but it's a rainbow board, not too connected, so we make the call. The turn is the queen of spades. Now middle position leads for $60. Again, debate folding, but I make the call. The river, the 10 of hearts. Middle position now bets 125. I really can't beat anything. There's straights out there, 2 pair. This so I make the fold, and I asked them where, and they said they had pocket aces. Um, don't know if I quite believe them, but even if that's truly what they had, where would you guys have folded in this hand? Let us know in the comments. We are still playing 1-2 at South Point Casino. It limps me in the big blind, and I look down at Ace, King of Hearts. It's beautiful. So we raise to $35, and we get 4 callers. Now, I do something that's a little unconventional, and I check in the dark. The flop is the 4 of spades, the 3 of hearts, the 2 of hearts. Gun now bets $30. Middle position calls, cutoff call. Now I jam all in for $578. And as soon as it gets to the first person, which is the gun, they go into a tank, but they find the fold. Middle position folds pretty quickly, and when it gets to cutoff, they tank. They show queen 7 of hearts, but they fold. And then the earned gun player tells us that they had queen deuce of diamonds. So we get what I think is almost max value there, unless we just flat and we get the hearts and we get it all in with the player that is in the cutoff. Tell me what you guys think of how I play. Good, bad, let us know.
Welcome to Miller Time. I'm Kevin Miller with the Degenerate Gambling Life, and on today's episode, I'm going to be discussing with y'all some early draft fades. I'm going to be discussing players you should be fading in redraft or best ball, either one. Their ADPs are very similar, and the reason you draft them are very similar. All right, the first player I will be fading almost entirely is running back Jahmyr Gibbs on the Detroit Lions. I love Jahmyr Gibbs as a talent. He went early first round in the NFL draft. The Detroit Lions love him, but there's sort of this roadblock in the way called David Montgomery. And David Montgomery has been a top 5 consistent running back in the league since the year he came in. I just think with David Montgomery getting more carries than Jahmyr Gibbs, he should not be going late first or early second round, which is where his current ADP of 11 is. I think that's a huge mistake, and you're basically drafting him as if David Montgomery misses the whole year and Jahmyr Gibbs stays healthy and plays every game, he will finish exactly where he's being drafted. So you have no way to win by drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. You're either losing or breaking even, which is not what you want to do in fantasy football. You want to win with your draft picks and win in general. So I'd be fading Jahmyr Gibbs very hard this year. Similarly, going just 2 picks later at an ADP of 13 overall, rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison on the Arizona Cardinals. I think he's a generational talent. I think in 2 to 3 years, he could be the number 1 receiver in the league and be going first off the board at receiver or even overall. But same as Jahmyr Gibbs, you're drafting him at his ceiling right now. This is insane. We've never seen a rookie wide receiver go at the beginning of the second round before, and this is not the year to start. Marvin Harrison is going ahead of guys like Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Adams, Chris Olave. What are you guys doing? You're morons. This is the biggest mistake I think I've ever seen in fantasy football. And I'm going to replay this video at the end of the season, and I'm going to show you how well it ages. Marvin Harrison's not going to finish as a top 10 wide receiver this year, and you're going to lose big time when you take him. Keep moving on to running back Devon A-Chain, going ADP 21, which is late second round pick. He's going ahead of guys like Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, and even Kyron Williams I would rather have than Devon A-Chan. He's way too small. I think my 15-year-old nephew weighs more than him and is taller than him. So, maybe we should just go ahead and throw him in the NFL and give him 200 carries and see what happens. Achane, very versatile, very speedy back. Mike McDaniels is going to utilize him, but he's going to miss a significant amount of time. You don't want to take players in the second round of your draft that are very likely to miss 4 or more games. And with his size, he's going to miss time. He only had 5 games last year that were noteworthy, Devon Achane. Yes, he was a late round pick last year, but now he's going in the second round. So a lot of this is about cost. It's not about hating on the player. It's about hating the cost that's associated with acquiring the player. And he is a terrible second round pick. You will lose your fantasy league if you take Devon Achane. And finally, I'm going to drop down the board a little bit towards the end of the 4th round where we have wide receiver Christian Kirk going off the board. Now let me just list a few facts about Christian Kirk. Number 1, he's only finished as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football, which means a top 12 wide receiver, 1 time in his 6-year career. He's never been a wide receiver 2, and he's only been a wide receiver 3 1 time. So in his 6 years, he's had 2 years where he was fantasy relevant. The 7th year is not going to be one of those years. Kelvin Ridley is gone, but Brian Thomas is in. Zay Jones is gone, but Gabe Davis is in. They got rid of 2 guys and replaced them with 2 very similarly talented profile players. Christian Kirk should be the 2nd or 3rd option on this team behind Brian Thomas, and I believe behind Evan Ingram. And I think he'll be way too boom or bust to be in your fantasy lineup. He's going at the end of the 4th, at the beginning of the 5th round. And those players should be every week starters for you in fantasy where you can be happy with their 10 to 20 points that they're giving you. Christian Kirk's not going to be that player. He's going to be hit or miss. And let's not forget, if you look back at his history, he misses time almost every year. He's very soft. I'm not a Christian Kirk fan. I think he's highly overrated. And if you take him in the 4th or 5th round of your fantasy draft, you're going to have a losing season. Let me know if you agree, disagree, other players you're definitely avoiding in redraft or best ball. And as always, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button.
Soccer hooligans.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Added Minutes. And this one is a special edition. We're going to call this one the Deuce Minutes. And no, not because I'm in the bathroom right now dropping one, but because we're covering the championship weekend of the French Open tournament that just took place over the last 2 weeks. And my apologies, I really wanted to get some shorts out throughout the tournament, but because work and family stuff was happening, I was unable to. So hopefully me covering the finals here, you guys will cut me some slack. On Saturday, we had the women's final where women's world number 1, Iga Swiatek, was taking on world number 12, Jasmine Paolini. And to be quite honest, this was a rout. Iga Swiatek showed why she's the world number 1, and she won the first set 6-2, closed out the second set 6-1. She is your 2024 Women's French Open champion. I almost said US Open. I don't know why. Moving on to the men's final, which took place on Sunday, we had world number 4, Alexander Zverev versus world number 3 and 21-year-old phenom Carlos Alcaraz. And if you guys remember, I covered Alcaraz before, even though Djokovic is my guy and I think he's the GOAT. Alcaraz is going to be that guy. He, for the next 15 years, is going to be the guy dominating this sport. He is an insane talent, and he can bring it and play with anyone. Anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, he does not back down. It started good for him on Sunday. He took the first set 6-3, but Zverev, this is where momentum shifted. Zverev ended up taking the second set 6-2 and the third set 7-5. So Zverev's up 2-1 coming into the fourth set, and Alcaraz absolutely dominated that one. Alcaraz takes that one 6-1. No doubt about it. We're tied going into the 5th and decisive set. And this one started off pretty even. It was 3-2 at one point, Alcaraz's serve. Zverev has break point, so he's trying to tie it up 3-3 and starts to get some of his own momentum. But man, Alcaraz, he just like flipped a switch, or I don't know, something happened, and he just became the most dominant tennis player probably playing some of the best tennis I've seen this season and the best tennis that I've seen him play in the remainder of this fifth set, especially in the last two games to close it out. It was insane. He was robotic. He was making insane shots. Even Zverev was looking back at him like, how the heck did you do that? So Alcaraz, he wins the fifth and final set, 6-2. He is your 2024 men's singles champion, and he will continue to dominate the sport. We have soccer coming up on Friday. Euros are starting in Germany versus Scotland, so that'll be a month-long tournament. Copa America after that. So we'll get back to soccer. Hope you guys have a good week.
Let's jump in a little fantasy baseball. We got 3 players for you. First up, Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals. He's a shortstop. He's available in 64% of leagues. He's been player 54 for the last month. All right, 54. And he's available still in 64% of leagues. Now, he'll give you 12 runs during that time, 3 home runs, 16 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and a 352 average. Those are definitely stats you could use. So if he's available, go pick him up. Next, Tyler Stevenson, Cincinnati Reds, catcher. One of the hardest positions to have a good player. All right, he's available in 74% of leagues. His player 215, which sounds terrible, but for catcher, that's actually pretty good. All right, during the last month, he will give you 13 runs, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a 298 batting average. Very similar player above that's been player 54, just no stolen bases. Finally, Josh Smith, Texas Rangers. All right, we have him on here mainly for the flexibility that we love. Gives you eligibility at third base, shortstop, and the outfield. He's available in 46% of leagues. The last month he's been player 251. All right, but he's given you 11 runs, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, and a 278 average. That's definitely someone that can help you, especially if you have someone taking a day off or they have just a minor injury. Just you love that flexibility. So please go out there and add these players if you need them. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching to the end. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Share if you feel like it. First, shout out to all the people that came up to me in Vegas, were looking out. Call me on Facebook. Had a great time. Mandalay Bay, we actually got 7 tables going, which was nuts for that casino. And we talked to them. We're probably going to have a meetup and fantasy football draft in August. So we'll have more details coming. But we are teaming up with Southern Poker Tour. We met 2 meetup games, one Friday night, one Saturday afternoon. They will be running a tournament June 19th through 23rd. So come out there. They got a great guarantee for the buy-in. It's really a good deal. All right. So we hope to see you guys at that meetup game. Also, our website and store is live. Check out some DGL gear if you want it. And we look forward to talking to all of you guys next week.